Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And I hope everyone's doing well. Everyone's been taking care of themselves. And in today's video, I want to talk about how you can become somebody worth losing. Because I feel like nowadays everybody's worried about losing people, but who's worried about losing you? You have to be somebody worth losing in order for people to not want to lose you, right? If people want to walk out on you, it could be for a valid reason. It could be because you're not somebody worth staying in their life for. You have to be somebody worth losing. You have to have value, and you have to provide value to people in order to not lose people. And how can you become that person? How can you become somebody of value, somebody that people don't want to lose? People, when they think about their closest friends, they're like, yeah, I'm so happy that I met this person. I never want this person to leave my life. They are so loving, so kind. You have to want to strive to be that friend, that person that people never want to lose. And how would you go about doing that? You have to actually listen to people. When people tell you about their problems, people talk about themselves, you actually have to listen in order to understand them. You don't just listen to people just to listen and respond to them, because a lot of people will listen just to respond. They'll have a thought and a answer already in their mind before the other person really finishes talking, right? So you have to actually listen to what they have to say and develop a response. You have to be an active listener. You have to be somebody that they want to talk to, they want to be comforted by. And how you do that is you make them feel heard, and you actually listen to them. You don't just nod your head and tell them You have to actually listen and respond. You have to listen and understand to what they're saying and develop your response from what they tell you. They tell you about a problem, they tell you about their day. You don't just you actually have to develop a response in what you think, and you have to challenge them. Because if you don't challenge them, you don't challenge the way they think, there's no growth, there's no development. Your relationships with people in your life will stay stagnant. There's no, hey, why don't you do this instead? I think you're doing this wrong. If there's no sort of challenge, there's no growth. So understand that in order for you to be somebody of value, you have to challenge people. You have to make them grow even when they don't want to, because sometimes you're the person and you're the reason why people grow. And yeah, people should grow on their own. People should realize and understand that, hey, maybe I am thinking wrong, but that's why you have people in your life, right? You have people in your life to tell you when you're messing up, when you're being a bad person, when you're being a bad friend, right? When you're doing something wrong, they have to be the ones to tell you that. And if you never tell somebody when they're doing something wrong, you never challenge people, then you don't sort of hold any value to them, because you're not making them better in any way. So understand that in order to be somebody worth losing, you have to challenge people. You have to listen, and listen not to just respond, but listen to understand who they are. You have to be that good person, not a nice person. So I made a video on this a while ago about being a good person, not a nice one, because I feel like a lot of the times now people are too nice. People always tell you what you want to hear. People don't want to hurt your feelings. We are growing up in a generation of snowflakes where everybody's so fragile. Nobody can get hurt. Nobody wants to be the one to hurt. Nobody wants to be the one to make another person hurt. But you have to be a good person, and a good person will challenge people. A good person will tell people what they don't want to hear, regardless of what they think the outcome will be, whether they think that person will grow or they think that person will just shut down and start crying and start getting frustrated with themselves because you're telling them what nobody has ever told them in the past. You are criticizing them, and you are being the one to tell them, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. You're challenging them. But you have to understand that if you ever criticize somebody, you can't just tell them the problem. You also have to give them a solution, because a lot of the times that I've found in my own life and being just observing other people's lives, whenever people have a problem with something, whenever people bring things up or they criticize a person, they always just tell them the problem. They just say, yeah, you're doing this wrong, and they leave it at that. But you can't just do problem, because when there's a problem, there's always a solution, right? And if you are the one to bring up a problem, you also have to bring up the solution, or try to come up with the solution together. You say, hey, this isn't working in our friendship, this isn't working in your life, but I'm not sure what you can do differently, but we'll figure it out together. Or you tell them, hey, I see that you did this, and I've noticed in my life how I got over this problem. I did this instead. So if you ever criticize somebody, or if you ever bring up a problem, you also have to provide a solution, or help that person get to a solution. You can't just do problem, because then if you always present somebody with problems, why would somebody want to keep you in their life? Because they can see that, hey, this is a problem, right? So you have to try to help them come up with solutions, or be the one to provide a solution for those people. And another thing with being somebody that is worth losing, you have to be considerate. I feel like being considerate is the bare minimum, but nobody really does the bare minimum anymore. Nobody thinks about the other person. Nobody puts them in the other person's shoes. When you do something, or when you make a decision, you have to know that, hey, if I was in their shoes, how would I feel? Or if they did this to me, would I be upset, or would I be angry? Would I be happy? What sort of emotions? How would this make me feel? So you always have to consider them. You always have to consider, if I do this, how are they gonna feel? If I react this way, how are they gonna feel? Right? So thinking about them, and it's not always putting them first, but also understanding that you have to put them first sometimes, but prioritizing you. Because I feel like a lot of the times people are like, yeah, I always have to be there for this person, I always have to be there. That's what a good friend does, and I do agree with that, but you have to also prioritize yourself. If you don't prioritize you, then you don't know how to take care of yourself. And if you can't take care of yourself, how do you expect to take care of another person? How do you expect to tell another person how to take care of themselves if you don't know how to take care of you? And yes, I believe that sometimes you have to drop everything you're doing and show up for them when they need you. But do they really need you, or can you be doing your own thing right now? If somebody really needs you, then yeah, I believe that you have to drop everything and be there for them, because that's what a good friend does, right? You are there for them when they need you the most. Not just for the good times, but you have to be there for the bad times. I feel like a lot of people nowadays don't want to be there for the bad times in somebody's life. And yeah, it's hard to be there sometimes. You don't know what to do, but sometimes just being there for a person is enough. Being there for your friend, being there for your partner is enough. Whether you know what to say or you don't, just being in their presence, showing up for them is enough. You have to prioritize yourself. You have to take care of yourself, because then it's a leading by example situation, right? It's, hey, look, my friend is taking care of themselves so much, I'm inspired to do the same. So it's why they want to keep you in their life, because they see you as a role model. They see somebody that you have to strive to become, right? And especially for like guy friend groups, there's always that like competitive edge on each other, right? So it's, for me, in the gym and stuff with my friends, there's one friend who's like bigger than me, right? And it always makes me want to do better. It's, oh, I can't let him get too much ahead of me, so I have to keep being consistent, right? It's, you always have to have people around you who push you to be better. So in order for you to be somebody worth losing, you have to provide worth in the first place. And yeah, I'm not saying that it's like a shallow thing, and I'm not saying that you have to be this person all the time, but you have to be of value. You have to provide people with something in order for them to not want to let you go. If you're just there and you don't really do anything, then why would somebody want to stay in your life? You have to give somebody a reason why to stay. Because I feel like, so an example would be like in basketball, right? If there's only 5 people can be on the court, you have to give the coach all the reason not to sub you off, right? Not a reason to sub you off, but you can't sub me off because I provide all this value, right? So it's the same thing with your life. You can't sub me out for another person because I provide you with all this value. And if you sub me out, you're not going to win games anymore. So you have to keep me on. It's the same thing with your life and people around you. If you want to be somebody that's always on the floor, that's always playing the game, you have to provide value. You have to give that person a reason to not sub you out. So, and I know it can sound a little shallow that you don't love people for who they are, but it's the reality of it. You love them for who they are, but that's who they are. They're that person who provides you with comfort, with care, with those ears to hear, that heart that loves you, right? It's not saying that if you don't provide value, it's just the reality of the world. You have to provide in order to be there. You have to have value in order to be valued. So understand that you have to give people reasons, every reason not to sub you out. Not a reason to sub you in, but reasons not to sub you out. You have to be on the floor at all times. You have to be playing. When it's a tied game with 30 seconds left, you want to be the one on the court. You want to be the one making that last second shot. So instead of always worrying about losing people, you should have to worry about people losing you. You have to understand that you have to be somebody who's worth losing. So stop being scared of losing people in your life. If somebody wants to walk out, you have to let them walk out. So I hope everyone's doing well. I appreciate all the comments, all the likes, and I'll see you all in the next one.